Water has always been something special to me, something sacred. It reminds me of my youth and of my family. It is something that shouldn't be abused, and people need to embrace it in order to get the most out of it. When I thought about how water has played a role in my life, the idea of youth kept coming up. I came up with a story that shows both sides of water. Once upon a time, there was a man who lived in a small house by himself. His wife had died exactly 1 year ago, and he woke up thinking that he had nothing to live for. He was always a very humble, caring, and giving man. He sits on his bed and remembers his youth, when he was a little boy playing baseball in his neighborhood, his achievements in the military, and his first real job. He looks in the mirror and sees an old, run-down man. He closes his eyes and sees his youthful face. He wishes with everything he has, gets down on a knee and says, "God, please let me be young again, to feel no pain when I walk, to be able to move freely and live my life ambitiously." He opens his eyes and sees himself in the mirror, unchanged. The man sighs. He walks downstairs slowly to make himself breakfast. He looks out the window and sees that there's water in his bird bath, and thinks to himself, "I'm pretty sure it didn't rain last night." He continues to look at the water and notices that birds fly close to it but seem too scared to touch it. He's intrigued and walks outside, approaches the water, and touches it. It's a feeling that he has never felt. As soon as he dips his hand inside, the soreness vanishes and the arthritis seems to go away. He takes a drink and feels phenomenal. He feels young again. He runs inside and looks in the mirror and sees his youthful face and is ecstatic. His wish had come true. The next morning, he wakes up and is old again. He goes downstairs, sees that the bird bath is filled, drinks the water, and feels great. He then gets an idea that he can drink more water if he puts a bigger bucket in place of the bird bath. He does this, and the next morning finds the bucket to be filled to the brim. Then he gets a better idea. He thinks, "I can sell this to the public and make so much money, and since I'm young again, I can relive my life, but be rich." So then he puts a huge swimming pool outside, wakes up the next morning, and it is full. He sets up a stand in his front yard and tells everyone what the water does. He sells hundreds of cups and makes a ton of money. He's full of cheer and everything is going well. The next morning he wakes up, the pool is filled again, but he hears a knock on the door. He opens the door, and there are hundreds of the oldest, grossest people that he's ever seen, complaining what his youth water did to them, and they threaten to kill him. He yells, "Stop! It will not do it again, watch," and grabs a cup and drinks it. He shrivels up and looks older and more disgusting than ever before. The people laugh, but they are still mad at him for ruining their lives. They pick him up, bring him to his swimming pool, and hold him under the water until he dies. To me, this story portrays the miracles that water can be a part of. In the Bible, Jesus walked on water and turned water into wine. In my life, water has been a large part of strengthening my relationship with my family, which may not seem like the type of miracle that was shown in the story, or like a miracle that Jesus did, but a miracle nonetheless. On the other hand, if the water is not treated in the right way, it can take lives. In the story, the man who is humble and giving throughout his entire life got what he had asked for, but it was not enough. He let greed stand in his way, and God's blessing ended up being the cause of his death. The point that I'm trying to get across in my final project is that water is a powerful substance. There can be no life without water, and the image of water is transformed in my life from something that is just there for drinking and cleansing to the main symbol of my childhood and a symbol of knowledge. I'm learning as my life goes on that the image of water has provided me with many memories, and I cannot take things like this for granted.